Hey, it's Chris, Liege of Games, rocking the old L Death Note tonight. Why don't we have a good one versus one Death Note strategy game yet? It's just ripe for the picking for a thematic incorporation of a game like that. Anyway, why are you here? You're here because this is by far and away the biggest week upcoming on crowdfunding in May. Depending on how things go, you could make an argument that this may be the biggest week on crowdfunding yet of 2022. Because we have four massive projects that are all going up, simultaneously launching head to head, and you're going to have to choose where, if any, your money is going to be going. This is ridiculous, to be very frank. And if you're anything like me, 2 or 3 years ago, you would have probably backed multiple of these campaigns, but I have been very selective. My room that I am sitting in here, I have less space to walk around now than I did ever before. And it's because partially I'm doing reviews, but partially just because I have a lot of stuff and I don't need more stuff. I need more excellent stuff. And so Discernment has really become the name of the game. Too much preamble. Smash the like. Let me know what you think. Patreon below, everything else in between. Thanks for viewing in the first place. Let's do this. When I sat down to try to figure out the order of this was tough because it's personal taste versus what I think is going to be the most attractive. Personal taste is ARCs. Personal taste is Leader Games putting out an easier to get to the table campaign-ish, smaller session, though you need the same people version of Oath in space, where there is a standalone, but also the campaign version. And Cole Worley has engrossed me with the tales of his design process and the thoughts behind that as someone who doesn't even enjoy reading those usually. And they are posted over on the Board Game Geek forums for ARCs. It's launching on the 24th. We've got almost 9,000 people following. But the question, like a lot of the other Leader games, is Root, Oath, is this game for you? Not just up here, but down here being able to play it. That's the challenge. And the enticing bit of this, more than anything else, this is designed to be more enticing in that manner. If that doesn't make your mouth salivate like mine, well, I mean, that's okay because we'll have 3 other games that'll come out in a minute and you can figure out whether or not one of those is more up your ilk. And one of them may very well may be. But the design systems of this, and again, the get it now factor, not because you want to, grass is greener, vie for what the Joneses have across the street, but because Leader Games is known for the non-exclusives, but they're known for you're going to get it earlier, which isn't a big deal to most people most of the time, but it's going to be a significantly better price point. Between them and Chip Theory, those are what they're known for. The high quality games, the low, basement, the high ceiling, and the experience. And so this is probably, barring maybe Senko Cushion, if it launches sometime later in 2022, maybe end of Q3 by this point. My most interested Kickstarter crowdfunder of 2022, at least easily to this point, and I don't see anything else surpassing it yet. I mean, it's always to be determined, but we'll see. But it's going to have to beat this. That's saying a lot right there. So take that for what you will. So what else is going up against it? Well, I mean, obviously, the main head-to-head competitor is Castles of Burgundy. If anything is going to outraise anything else the rest of the year, this has the chance to be it, right? If you're looking at Marvel Zombies and going, can anything beat that? Well, here you go, folks. This is the one. 30,000 people already following this. One of the highest rated games on Board Game Geek, period. The only question is, opposite to what ARCs is bringing, right? Why do I need this version? There's 2 versions that are much more than passable already. So why do I need a completely blinged out version? And as I am talking about on the news video on Monday, because this is also a topic there too, I won't spoil everything in case you're only watching this one and not watching that one, or vice versa. But my concern is that if this is a massive, massive success, how many other games that don't need new versions are we going to see? And I think the biggest make it or break it is going to be what the price point is for something like this. Because the other iterations of this from like Bezier Games, which did Castles of the Mad King Ludwig and Suburbia, was that the price point was massive for those new versions, those new over the top deluxeified versions. And again, this is looking like it's deluxe. And what are you going to put in a stretch goal for a game that's already complete? What are you going to put in a stretch goal box for a game that's already complete, right? I don't know. So some of the mystery there, how many of the expansions are going to be included, those are the things that everyone, these 30,000 people, are waiting to see. Because they've held their cards very, very close to the vest. Now, I imagine that several of the big companies, Freudian slip there, several of the big channels have versions of this that they will be talking about, sort of like I did with Ra. I mean, right? It makes sense to have some hands-on copies for people that hopefully are familiar with it, but also, like me, I thought that was a positive that I wasn't familiar with Ra in the first place, so you get a little bit of outsider's perspective too. So it's going to be very intriguing to see what they do with this. If the price point is right, I mean, I can't tell you that I won't get it. But if the price point is what I actually think it may be, $100 shipped, then I'm just going to go pick up one of the other versions from literally like 3 years ago, right? So that's the dilemma. Because if it's successful, watch your wallets and watch your recently produced games of getting over deluxeified versions in the near future. And if you watched my video on Ukiyo and the things we've learned from this in the past, is that at some point this bubble is going to burst. Not the board game bubble, but the deluxeification bubble. It's just when, how, who, and what. And are you okay with this versus something else? And that's where people are going to have to start drawing the line. So it's going to be an interesting test of the market. Now, they've already given you some updates here. We'll pull up the latest one here so that you can see a little bit of what it has, including the double layered player boards that they're really emphasizing to hold the modularity of the hexes in the first place a little bit more steady. You can see the overlay, the board, the double layer board, and just everything that's going to go along with it, including the special player boards that are going to be also a little bit different and unique. Do you want a blinged out deluxeified version of this? A very, very aesthetically pleasing version of it. So, there you go. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. But it's going to be a very, very interesting test of the market as a whole. Also, I mean, can you speak of any bigger IP than this? Then this is the problem, right? Season 2 was rather lackluster. It had sort of a lot of people turned off after the results of Season 1. I mean, we're talking Batman Gotham City Chronicles, right? And it's just going to be another interesting test of the market. Can Monolith spin this around and get more of the essence and the glory and the momentum of Season 1 rather than Season 2? Because there were a lot of criticisms of Season 1 in terms of people like me who just wanted to go and bash in a full-on dungeon crawl, Batman, everything under the sun. And the game we got was filled with errata and not very good instructions and no player aids and basically more of a puzzle, do it one way or fail. And people kind of were okay with that, but a lot of people weren't. And if you go over to the pre-launch page here, again, 9,200 people following it. So again, this has the real potential to be something great. And as they even put out in the latest update from the previous Season 2, I mean, I'm not going to say it, but Paul Grogan, the chosen one, in their words, has really been fine-tuning some of that stuff that was criticized the first time around, including some of the changes that they're going to make. Obviously, the player aid, the rulebook, things like that. They're also going to allow you to customize the difficulty. Okay, color me intrigued. Latest rulebook version already? Color me more intrigued. And Paul basically breaks it down in this latest update of what he did and how he did it, which is really freaking sweet, actually. Again, just like the Cole Worley background, I love seeing this because this builds trust. I don't want to see this, though, at the same time, right? Because just when I think I'm out, they start to pull me back in. Because this does sort of what zombies, Marvel Zombies, that is, and Marvel United's done, right? They're taking stuff that you're familiar with, putting a different twist on it, and giving you everything more than you imagined. Not just the bread and butter, cookie cutter, heroes, villains that everyone's used to, but everything under the sun that's cool. I mean, Batman Beyond? Are you kidding me? But can you win me back over with the changes that are made? And that's sort of the thing I want to see, but also don't want to see, because I'm guessing that we're talking, again, to get what I want. I mean, easy, $200-$300. So this right here, the game deserves it. The backers deserve it. Nothing makes it happier than making a game that people can get played. So, I give them a lot of kudos. Now, you can make the argument that a lot of this should have been done for Season 1 in the first place, or Season 2, but the fact that they're willing to acknowledge that, it may not win everybody back, but it's going to get a lot of people's goodwill. And I'm willing to give them a second shot, even though I wish my wallet, and I may not be agreeing on that. So, again, launching on the 24th, and look at that, Ghostmaster? Freaking sweet. Go look up Ghostmaster. I mean, it's kind of, but you get what I'm going with this. So, this is going to be a crazy week already. And then on top of that, we have The Breach from Ludus Magnus, sort of playing off of Tamashii, or Gaijin, as it was formerly known, from Awakened Realms Light that was played out earlier this year. Diving into the cyberpunk theme, aesthetic, more of a Netrunner miniature game, but as a dungeon crawl. Right? The aesthetic is there. The table presence is there. Ludus Magnus has been a little bit up and down, though, at times. I mean, definitely got an interest. Black Rose Wars is a super intriguing game. I just wish it was about half as long as it was, and it would have stayed in my collection. Nova Aetos? I don't know. The jury's still out on that one. The latest iteration of it isn't to backers. So, we'll kind of see where things go. But this is a different aesthetic, an underused aesthetic as a whole, thematically speaking. And I'm willing to always give companies second or third chances, because as these companies grow, as they mature, as they get better at doing this, see Monolith, just the previous game, the biggest thing I'm looking for is learning from mistakes and doing better. I mean, that's exactly what I tell my kids, right? I'm not upset that you're making mistakes. I'm not ashamed that you're messing up, but don't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, right? So I'm really intrigued to see what they can do with this, right? 1 to 4 players, 60 to 90 minutes, it's a competitive net crawler. Now, obviously, this doesn't have quite the reach of those other 3 games, but still 4,500 followers already? It's impressive. As they say here, the webpage is a little bit slippery, you're playing as a breacher, trying to steal secret information. Resource management, set collection mechanics, variable powers. This reminds me more of what I originally thought Tamashii was going to be. Assigning and upgrading your avatar, using viruses to fight guards and other avatars off. Well, you also got to pay enough attention, because if you take enough damage, you're just going to get disconnected and, reconnected somewhere else that may not be quite the advantage that you want, or it may be an advantage that you really kind of help. So I have no idea what to expect of this. Now, I kind of like Tamashii a little bit more, because I'm probably wrong about this. I thought, if my memory serves me, that was more cooperative. I wish this was more cooperative. I'd probably be more interested in this if it was a cooperative, Cthulhu-esque Death May Die game with this theme, rather than a competitive. That would be my biggest concern. Cracking codes, they've been offering pledge level giveaways prior to this. Again, I just need to see some gameplay. So they run you through a little bit of the steps here. There's a lot of information on this website already of how you're going to be playing. So I give them a lot of kudos to have this much out. I don't think we've seen this much out of Ludus Magnus on their previous projects. And I know that based on their social media, they sent out a ton of prototypes. So you will see a lot of content on the day this launches as well on the 24th, just like the rest of these. Don't fret, though. There are other games launching on the 24th that I know of that aren't going to totally bust your wallet wide open, so we'll talk about those too. First up is 44 BCE. Julius Caesar has just been assassinated. You are one of the various leaders of state vying for the void, the vacuum left by his death at this point. Semi-cooperative, hand management, strategic game. It's 6 rounds, but it also says it's a worker placement, which I was not expecting. So, is it going to work as a worker placement? It's an interesting combination of things. Engine combinations, open negotiations. Again, working with your competitors until it becomes time for you to stab them in the back or even in the front, depending on how you want to do it. Grey Forest Games here. They've got an interesting concept. They've got an interesting looking premise. We'll see what happens when it launches on the 24th as well. Next up is Bark Avenue. Competitive route management game as a dog walker in, I believe, either faux New York City or New York City as a whole. I'm not really sure. I mean, it's route management, trying to time dogs coming back from walks, with dogs going for walks, with the routes you're going to take, the transportation that's going to be necessary, the card play and hand management to go along with that. And, I mean, it's dog aesthetic, right? We have seen games with cats and dogs as a general aesthetic do very well on crowdfunding. I mean, the theme does nothing for me personally. I'm not a big route person, actually. That's more of the issue. I'm not a big, pick up and deliver route building sort of person as a whole. But I know that there are a lot of people that are. So, again, if you're looking for something smaller this week, this is something completely different. Also launching on the 24th. Again, launching as well on the 24th, Castleshire. Now, this is set in the land of 1,000 castles, where you are said castle builder. The key to fame in this game is it says in this description, there is no downtime. You are going to be active in some way, shape, or form, whether it is your turn or one of your opponents, building your resources carefully, chaotically, or trying to time your other skills or abilities to throw off what they're trying to do. I mean, this card is literally called the Saboteur. So, right here, right? The Immoderate Architect. This is a little bit of take that. You're moving someone else's workers. But that's a lot of cards. It's a lot of abilities. How do you feel about that? Especially as a castle building game. I don't really get a great glimpse of how it plays, but luckily, there are already over half a dozen videos on Board Game Geek that you can check out for yourself to see how it does, because they've been up there for, anywhere between a couple days and a month at this point. So if you want to see what this one actually looks like from more of a building side of things to set it apart from other similar games, check it out. Now we have launching on the 26th, Hacktivity. Again, staying with a very underused theme here as hackers trying to neutralize viruses. In this 1 to 4 player cooperative, now this is a card-driven game where you are presented with cards, either player character cards or virus cards, and you are trying to get through the virus deck. But in order to do so, you're going to have to play these virus cards, and you're going to have to be able to neutralize them or play them in a sequence that is the least damaging. Cards even have one of 2 ways of playing them, especially the viruses, a way to be neutralized or just a self-destruct. I mean, the card allows you to just discard it, but you're going to pay a heftier price in terms of the damage back to you if you choose to get rid of it in that way. The other way is the interface, in which you can place these viruses, I believe, and it also determines how stealthy you are navigating through the system depending on what is there. Said critical interface, though, is sort of the boss of the game, if you will, that is going to additionally manipulate the settings and the given conditions, as well as the viruses that you may be facing, as a way to, essentially win the game or lose it. And you can also increase, depending on the cards that are played, the alert level that you are going up against throughout the game. Different viruses, different categories or types of viruses. And if you go back to this board here, this is actually acrylic, And so that's why the price point for this card game, they say, at least on the forums, is going to be $49 plus shipping. We'll see what it fully looks like when it launches on the 26th. Last up, launching on the 24th, Ukiyo. This is a very interesting 1 to 2 player hand management 18 card deck puzzle game. And I mean puzzle by it gives you different sets of puzzles that you need to accomplish with these cards. You're going to be putting them in a grid, a 6x6 grid, as they are combinations of different Japanese symbols on them in the first place in different orientations to complete said, not quests, but objectives in the first place. And as a solo game, it says that it comes with 50 different scenarios that you can try to complete. The other interesting aspect of this game is if you are playing multiplayer, you are trying to complete the grid, but you are left with one card in your hand, and that determines what objective you're trying to compete at the very end. Very intriguing. They posted on Board Game Geek elsewhere yesterday that they ran out, or they sold out of all the previous copies from their run in 2021. So if you want to get a copy, this may be the only way, especially if you're interested from a solo perspective. There you go, launching also on 24th. So now that we've got those out of the way, the over-under results from last week, and because I was completely out of the loop on Board Game Tables launching, which if I would have known, one of the over-under bets would have been completely different. The first one was over or under 2.5 games breaking 100,000. Well, I mean, yeah, right? Anunnaki. Then we had, obviously, Board Game Tables, and then we had Thunderstone Quest. So I picked the under because I didn't realize this was launching, so I messed up that bet. I got that one wrong. Speaking of Thunderstone Quest, though, I said it was going to break 200K. Well, it's at 121, so I got that one wrong as well. Orienburger Canal, I also said under 80,000 euros. 81,000 euros. Well, at least I'm close. And then over or under Kingdom Builder Deluxe, I said 187,000. I hedged between 190 and 185, and I thought that was too much, and I think I said the under there too. And again, I was wrong. 0 for 4 this week. Amazing results, folks. Liege does it again. So let's go. What should we do this week? Does anything, we'll go back to this page because this is the one I had it linked up to still. Does anything beat Castles of Burgundy? Over or under the field, essentially. Does anything raise more money in the first week than Castles of Burgundy? I'm going to go Castles of Burgundy. That 30,000 number, even if it's a fraction, it's going to get people. And so I think that beats the other three. I think it goes Castles of Burgundy, Arcs, Monolith with Batman, and then The Breach. In that order. You can tell me how wrong I am in the comment section. Next up, Tiny Epic Vikings will be ending. I mean, it feels like it just started. This is a short campaign. It's at $540,000 already. So let's put the over-under at, 6 days left. Let's say 750. I'm going to give them a bit of 750. And I'm going to go over. I'm going to go over 750. I think they're going to get a ton at the end here. Surprising amount. So we'll see how many I can go over this week and last week combined, right? Ra, also ending around the same time, $377,000. Let's go Raw at, again, that price point. Let's go Raw at $470,000 over under. I'm going to go slightly under with that one for this, just because that's a lot of money. And I think with this one, you already got the rush of the people that were very interested in it. And there's not a whole lot going to be yet revealed at this point. So again, I'm going to go under. And then Damask, also going to be ending in around the same time, 10,000 euros, 10,000 pounds, actually. Let's go, and staying in the pounds here, let's go with 15,000 pounds. Again, I'm going to go slightly under. So, there you go. You're over under for this week. Actually, you know what? No. Let's go back a second. Let's add one here at the very end. Let's add a separate one. Castles. Batman. Arcs. Breach. Over or under 3.5 games that break 500,000 in the first week. Over or under. Essentially, what I'm asking you is, does the Breach break 500,000? I mean, does Batman, I guess, too. I'm going to go under. I'm going to go under 3.5 games. I think 3 of these, yeah, I'm going to go under. If I was really daring in this, extra bonus points, double or nothing on this one. Over or under 2.5 games. Would you still take the under if I said 2.5? Food for thought. I'll give you triple bonus points if you can get that one. If you go on the under, that is. That's it. That is the roundup. That's the over-under. Everything else in between. TV time. TV time. I am watching King's Avatar on Netflix. I am engrossed by that. The MMORPG League of Legends world. The top player retires, not so just, of his own volition, but gets sort of pushed out essentially. And the consequences thereof afterwards, including him starting to get back into it. It's very engrossing. I'm very impressed by it so far. It's lighter, but it's also got some cool stuff going on too. The battles are cool. How they did the computer game battling on the show itself is just well done. I'm very impressed. Now, what is it? I'm watching the Chilean, also on Netflix, 42 Days of Darkness, where a woman is killed. A very wealthy woman is killed in Chile, and it's a little bit of just a whodunit. Did the husband do it? Did he hire someone to do it? Sort of the unrevealing. It's only 6 episodes. It's got enough solid there, and it mainly focuses on the lawyer who gets involved, who sort of worms his way in with the rest of the family to look at the husband in the first place, as things are unrevealed. Unrevealed? Things are revealed. But it's done in a relatively good way, so I was relatively impressed by that one too. I mean, it was solid B. B+. So, that's about it. Continuing to slowly get through the first season of The Last Airbender with my kids. Momo, 1.5-year-old, super interested every time Momo comes on the screen. The bad guys come on the screen and he's like, no, 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 no. Anyway, I'm working this weekend, so I'm going to be late to the soccer games if I can make it on time or make it to them at all. So that's what we got going on as well from that aspect. And I gotta get something played. I just got to get something played. It's been way too long during these weeks, during the weekdays, that I'm not playing anything. Even like Marvel United or anything, we just haven't been able to get anything to the table. Because every day I come home and there's like 5 kids in my house at least. And I only have 3 kids, so yeah. So that's it. That's all I got. Have a great weekend. Get something played. I have tons of stuff I need to get played. Like, I want to play something new. I want to play some of this stuff I've gotten. I want to play some of this stuff like just again. So it's just about availability. And yesterday was my 10-year anniversary. Little side note right there. So I'm filming this on the day before my anniversary, and this is airing on the day after. So, I mean, that's how this sort of process works. But yeah, right? 10 years. Holy cow. What are we doing? We're going out to dinner to get away from the kids so we don't have to put them to bed, essentially. That's essentially what we're doing. We'll probably wander around the grocery store for, half an hour, because that's also what we do on date nights, because we're getting older and we're homebodies. And maybe I'll convince her if we can bring a game with us, we'll go sit in the park and eat our dinner and play a game. I mean, that's what you do nowadays, right? That's all I got. Stay classy. Have a great weekend. See you around. Board game news video on Monday. Woo! Let's do this.